Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and as you know, every week or so I get together with my daughter Patrice for daddy-daughter discussions. This is where we talk about all the things that fathers and daughters might talk about, should talk about, might be afraid to talk about, or need to talk about. How you doing today, Patrice?
I'm doing very well, and yourself?
I'm doing really good, really good, really good. Yeah, have you been following the news this week?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, the big stuff yesterday seemed to be Jada Pinkett Smith. She did that video where she said that she's not attending the Oscars, and I think she said she won't be watching as well. What did you think about that?
Well, I mean, I didn't understand why people really watch the Oscar. Black people really watch the Oscars anyway. So
Mm. Well, I know
I feel like
I
it's
don't watch
about
the Oscars. Do you watch the Oscars?
no.
Yeah, I don't either. It's such a corny, like, did you see what Chris Rock called it the White BET Awards?
Hmm.
Which I thought was pretty funny. Um, what do you think about? I mean, like so Jada is boycotting the Oscars because she says that the racism of black actors, being excluded from receiving Oscars, and also black writers and film directors, everything. That's just a reason to just not participate anymore. Um, did you think that Jada? I mean, did you like applaud what she was saying, or did you think like, okay, it's a no brainer, or it should have happened a long time ago, or you're full of crap, or what did you think?
It's a no-brainer, and it should have happened a long time ago. And I really feel like Jada. Some people, some African Americans that are like A-list actors and this and that, I think they get a little spoiled because they always expect to win. And being that her husband didn't win anything for concussion, I think that that may be why she's a little pissed off. I think it's something different from just all of these African Americans. I think it's more so about her husband.
Well, you saw that Janet Hubbard from The Fresh Prince, who played Aunt Viv, she's really heated over this. She's basically called out Jada, and she did this.
I love her. She's so sassy and like just full of attitude. I like it.
Yeah, I know. She was so funny. She's like, "Well, darling, don't think that because your man did not get the Oscar." Like she was just real. Like I was like, "Oh
She's like,
Lord."
listen here, honey child, like stuff like that.
Yeah, like she was really trying to like audition. Like I think she was trying to because I don't know. My thing is like I don't know what Aviv has been doing since the Fresh Prince other than criticizing Will Smith. Like she's been mad for 20 years. You don't ever want to stay mad for 20 years about anything.
Yeah.
Like so what has she done? Has she been in any movies or anything? Is she you think she's trying to use this as a come up?
I mean, she could be, but she did have some valid points though. When she was saying that it's a much bigger picture than just winning an Oscar, because sometimes with black people, not all black people, but a lot of black people feel like if it's white, then it must be better. So like they'll watch the MTV Awards versus watching the Black Girls Rock Award, or they will send their children to white high schools because they feel like those are better schools versus sending them to Central High School, which is one of the biggest African American high schools in the city of Louisville, and they feel like Central is ghetto, Central's this, Central's that. But I know a lot of very successful people who came out of Central High School, and I went to Ballard High School, which was a white school, and I felt like I didn't get what I needed. So some people feel like if it's white, it's better. If you live in a white neighborhood, you live in a better neighborhood. If you work around white people, you have a better job. Just because it's filled with white people doesn't mean that it's better. It's almost like the field Negro versus the house Negro. Just because you in the house, they think that it's better. You still fucking working for white people, so what's the point?
Well, there's something to be said about that. I mean, I'll say that when you talk about working for white people, to me, that's Dr. Claude Anderson in Powernomics talks about that all the time. He says basically the percentage of black people who work for white people hasn't really changed much since slavery. That we really do have a slave mentality. Who you work for is built on how you think. If you grow up thinking like I just don't want to work for nobody, then that means you'll even go broke before you go submit yourself to subservitude or subservience or servitude. And so in fact, one of the reasons I love working with Dame Dash, and you and I are going to go see him in California next month, is the fact that Dame's like, I'm not calling you my boss. That's like me calling you daddy. I'm not doing that. I got too much pride. And sometimes, people will say, "Oh, well, the pride's gonna leave you broke." But Dame is funny. Dame will go broke before he goes and bows to another person, and you got to respect that. I mean, in the long term, that is a winning strategy because even if you suffer because you have your pride, your children benefit. And black people aren't accustomed to thinking about our children. We're not thinking about our children and grandchildren. We're thinking about the here and now and the me and mine and what I can get tomorrow. What paycheck can I get tomorrow? Because think about this. We will respect somebody more if they got a big paycheck than we will respect somebody if they actually have wealth. Like, so for example, if you build a company and your company could be worth, say, $100,000, but you might only make $5,000 that year. So somebody else who's making $100,000 a year is going to look at you and say, you ain't got nothing. Like, you just made 5,000. I got 100,000. I made 100,000 this year. But you're getting a paycheck. They're building wealth. They've actually got something that's going to be around forever. That's theirs. You're getting a paycheck that's going to stop as soon as the white man stops writing them checks for you. And that's a very different thing. You can't pass your children like a job. You can pass them a business. So I liked what Jada was saying. Actually, I thought that I agree with you though. Janet made good points. The video I thought was great. I think that the problem is that a lot of people do things out of self-interest, right? A lot of people get involved in movements and protests because of self-interest. A lot of people, for example, when we protest mass incarceration, most of the people who support it are people whose children or relatives have gone to prison because they know the pain of prison. They've seen it up close. So so Jada may be only doing this because she's mad because her husband got disrespected, but she could have still sat there and did what most actors do, which is nothing. They just sit there quietly and they're like, you know what, we just gonna take it because we ain't got no power. We're just too scared. So I thought it was a bold move. I was happy she said it, and I feel like Jada has a consistent pattern of showing activism. Like she's done other things that show that she cares about more than just herself. When I don't know if I told you this, but remember the thing that Russell Simmons and I did in 2013 on mass incarceration? Well, Jada and Will were one of the first people that signed our petition to the president, and they're friends with the president, which was very brave because the White House was literally calling people up on the list and saying, "Take your name off this petition." Like, or we won't let you come to the White House or whatever. So they've shown courage before. It's not the first time they've done it. What do you think?
Um, I don't know. I mean, I guess for me that is a different cause versus the Oscars. A lot of people get irritated when I cuss in front of you, but fuck the Oscars. Like, why do people care so much about the Oscars? Who cares? Like, why do people care about the Oscars? So many people get excited about this shit. So many people feel like if we can win an Oscar, then that means we did a good job on our movie. No, it doesn't mean that you did a good. There are plenty of movies that are really, really good that didn't win an Oscar, and it's not that big of a fucking deal. People are still gonna go see the movie. Why do you have to get the approval of white people to feel like you've actually made it?
That's really
A
true.
lot of, and I mean, you see that with rappers and singers too. They feel like if they can go mainstream, which mainstream is when white people are feeling you, then that means that you've really made it. It don't mean shit. There are plenty of white people who hate black women, but they love Beyonce. Beyonce is Beyonce. Who gives a fuck? Like, why do people care about what white people think so much?
Mm.
That just, I feel like that just kind of pisses me off. Like, I don't care about what white people think. So why does everybody else? And then when you don't win an award, you're pissed off. You weren't supposed to really win in the first place. They were being nice to you. But maybe it's just me.
No, no, it's not just you. I think a lot of people see it that way. It's a lot of it. I think, well, a lot of it's self-esteem to me. Black people don't have a lot of self-esteem. Like we kind of need white people to tell us that we're good at something before we feel like we're really validated. And what's funny to what you said earlier. Did you see how in the movie Straight Outta Compton, they had four nominations for Straight Outta Compton, and they all went to the white people? Like, wait, which is already weird that you got these white people writing this black story. That's odd to me. I just wonder how many, like, if you went to China or you had a Chinese movie, like how comfortable would they be if black people were writing a story about Chinese people? Like a story, an important Chinese story. I think they'd probably say, no, this is our story. We need to do this ourselves. I think black people don't have a lot of just sense of agency in their own existence. We kind of do need that approval. Now, so Patrice, one of the things I wanted to ask you about too was this. Let's go back to that self interest thing. I thought about it a little bit. And a lot of people made a point, and it's valid to say Jada would never have done this if her husband had gotten a nomination. Um, and Janet Hubbard brought that up, and what I thought was interesting though was you know the question is, Janet Hubbard has been, or Hubert, however you pronounce her name, she has been pretty critical of Will Smith for like 20 years, and she mentioned that she asked him to help her on the salary negotiations, and he said no. So one could easily flip their argument on her and say, well, you wouldn't be complaining about Will Smith if he had helped you get more money, right?
Hmm.
So to me, that goes back to that point. It seems to me that, like, generally speaking, I think a lot of people kind of do stuff for themselves. Like a lot of people that get involved in a protest, they do it like Black Lives Matter. Most of the people that protest Black Lives Matter are black people because they're like, yeah, it sucks being black. I've gone through it, but if they weren't black, maybe they wouldn't care. And so there are some people who will support something even if it doesn't affect them at all. But it seems to me that um, there are a lot of most people get involved because it affects them directly. Also, you could make two arguments like with Will and Jada. Like, on one hand, they are part of the Hollywood establishment, so you could say, yeah, they're established, they're good. Like, of course, they can make the protests. But on the other hand, somebody could say, but they're part of the establishment, so they maybe they have more to lose. They're already getting money from Hollywood. If they were to be blackballed from Hollywood or whatever, they would still be able to make money, but they wouldn't make nearly as much as they did before. Like a lot of times, if you're in the establishment, the question is, does being in the establishment make you feel safer to protest, or does it make it riskier to protest? A lot of people get into the establishment and they get comfortable. Like a lot of people who marched with Dr. King and were real radical back in the day, they won't do that now because they're part of the establishment. So, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, do you think that do you think that Jada deserves any credit for being any kind of a heroic figure for people that have been wanting to stand up, or do you think that she's just kind of just being self-interested in all of this?
Well, I'm kind of on the fence about that one just because I mean he owns his own movie production company. So he doesn't necessarily need the Academy for anything. He
Well,
does I mean he has his own what?
well, he may not need them, but not needing something is very different from being able to use it. Like, if Will made a movie and it got an Oscar, that movie would probably make another 100, $200 million. You know what I mean? So Oscars have economic value in Hollywood, it seems. You know what I mean? And a lot of fans will see a movie because it was nominated for an Oscar or won an Oscar. So it's like, for example, like, I don't need. There are people I work with that I don't need to work with them if I don't want to. I could walk away, but it might cost me a lot of money. You know what I mean? It's like I could endure walking away, but I might not walk away for just any old reason because I might be like, well, wait a minute. If I walk away, I'm gonna lose a ton of money, and I don't really want to lose a ton of money over a tiny issue. So it has to be a big issue for you to walk away because the implications are pretty big. So I imagine Will and Jada probably suffered, from walking away from the Oscars or speaking up on this. What do you think?
I don't know.
Mm.
I don't know. I don't know. I
Mm.
have to think about that one. I really don't know. I don't want to say nothing stupid, so I really don't know. But I get when I think about this, it kind of reminds me of the situation with Nicki Minaj, and she was saying that the MTV Awards and the American Music Awards were racist because Anaconda didn't win an award, but Taylor Swift was nominated, and blah blah blah. And sometimes I feel like certain people won't speak up unless it happens to them. Like that's how I feel. Spike Lee, he's mad because Chirac didn't get nominated. I didn't go see Chirac. Chirac looked like a joke to me, and a lot of black people felt like it looked like a joke. So I don't know. It's just
Well, Spike Lee, when he made Malcolm X, that didn't get. I don't think they got mentioned at the Academy at the Oscars either. But I think it seems like we agree on the bottom line. The bottom line is that is basically fuck the Oscars. I mean, the Oscars don't really mean a whole lot, and it's funny. Like it's almost like you're boycotting an illusion anyway. You know, you're boycotting something that just really doesn't have. It has a little bit of economic value in that part of the world, but one point Jada made, and I was just for the sake of full disclosure, I support Jada on this. I thought it was great. I don't really judge why you're supporting something. I judge what you do, not so much why you did it. You know, because even on the other flip side, on the other side, if somebody needs to take a stand and they don't, but they have a good reason for being quiet, I don't really want to hear your reason for why you didn't do the right thing. I just saw what you did. You judge people by what they do, not why they did it, and most of the time. So Jada might have done it because she was mad about her husband. She might have done it because who knows, somebody paid her money, because she's a part of the establishment, or she's what. You know what? I don't care why she did it. I think it was great that she did. And what's going to be interesting to me is how many of her Hollywood friends are going to back her up. 'Cause they know everybody in Hollywood. So I'm curious. So far, all I've seen is Spike Lee is the only other person that's really backed her. Have you seen anybody else? I mean, is there anybody who's publicly supported her?
I'm waiting for Chris Rock to say he's not going to do it.
Mm,
50 Cent asked 50. I'm actually about to. I think I'm going to write about that. 50 Cent asked him not to do the awards.
well, I mean, yeah, but 50 Cent's kind of always. 50 Cent is a smart guy, but he's kind of always on the fringes of stuff like that anyway. And he's on the fringes, kind of talking a lot, you know?
Well, I mean, it's. I'm just saying that that was a celebrity who asked him not to do it, but I was wondering if he was going to do it because he talks so much about racism and driving while black and all of that stuff, and I'm just curious to see if he's still going to go through with it, which he probably will. But
Now, what's interesting about the Academy, as racist as they are, is that they actually have a black president. The president, her name is Cheryl Boone Isaacs, and she was elected in 2013. She was the first African American to hold the office and the third woman. Do you think that makes a difference that they have a black president?
clearly not. I mean, shit, if it made it. When they said that she was the president, and then I actually read her statement, and she said she's frustrated, and she's so sorry, and she doesn't know how this happened. I would think that the president, everything would have to go through the president first. That's what I would think.
Hmm.
So for her to be so goddamn frustrated, why didn't you express your frustration before the nominations came out?
Mm,
I feel like now she's saying something because everybody else is pissed off.
mm. Well, obviously, I mean, as we know from the Obama administration, having a black president is hardly, the solution to all racial problems. I mean, sometimes it can actually worsen a racial problem because people will think that because they have a black president, they can do whatever they want to black people. They say, well, we promote one Negro, then everybody, all the other Negroes can be abused, and that's the thing that we have to always be wary of is just realize that a black figurehead can be as much of a liability as it is an asset. And so the black academy president, when I found out she was black, I didn't care, and I figured as much. In fact, she wrote an open letter after Jada mentioned her protest, and that's a great strategy, right? Let's get our Negro to write an open letter so that she can counter the other Negro who's mad. House Negro, Field Negro. Back Malcolm talked about it all the time. Malcolm X. It's in fact, remember, I don't know if you've ever seen it. Malcolm did a speech where he said that he said when there were Negroes like me who spoke up, or black people like me who spoke up, he said they didn't kill him. He said they would always find some house Negro to run up behind him, and counter everything that he said. And that's pretty much a consistent strategy because a lot of people fall for that. They really think that a black face in a high place really means something special, and a lot of times it just doesn't. For example, when President Bush was in office, I remember I had people. One guy asked me. He said, "You always talk about the racism of the Bush administration. Would you feel better if Bush's whole cabinet was all white males? Because Condoleezza Rice was in the cabinet, right?" And I said, well, actually, his cabinet does consist of 100% white males. It's just one of those white males happens to have dark skin and a vagina. But to me, if you're thinking like a white man, then you might as well be a white man. But if you think like a white man and you have black skin, or maybe you're a woman, then people will somehow think that it means something different. because they're judging you based on what you look like as opposed to what you are. And and that's what I kind of see here. I mean, I agree with you. If she can't make a difference in the academy and the racism, then what is your point? What is your value? Why are you there other than to defend racism? And it goes back to slavery. The best defenders of white supremacy are usually black people. Actually, black people are far more effective at defending white supremacy and all.
And
Go ahead.
I seen that. It's so funny you said that. Sunday when I went to church, the preacher was actually talking about Judge Olu Stevens and how Judge Olu Stevens stood up and said that he didn't want to keep having these all white juries to predict the futures of these black men. And the pastor said that the white guy, whoever the guy was, who tried to get Olu Stevens fired,
You talking about Tom Wine in Louisville?
Tom
Yeah.
Wine, yep, Tom Wine, he is actually going to be in the Martin Luther King parade.
Oh, they got rid of him. They threatened to protest and they took him out of the parade.
That's what I was gonna say. I heard that they were protesting, and I was just thinking, like, how could you even feel like that would be doable? Like, why would you feel like you needed to be a part of the Martin Luther King parade when clearly you're calling this man a racist because he's sticking up for, or he's stepping up against racism? Like, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. But I guess you see that all the time too.
Well, I'm sure that if you follow the money, what probably happen. This is what happens. Black people are easy to manipulate, and they're very easy to buy. So basically, you have people that will like people are used to, and it's because that strategy's worked in the past. Before the internet, where black people could really talk to each other without getting white people's permission, you could do something like that. You could literally take a racist white man and put him in, give him an NAACP award or put him in a King Day parade, and it would clean up his image because he's been co-signed off by propped up Negroes. And the white man would have to do is pay the right Negro enough money to co-sign on him to get him like clean again. That's what Donald Sterling did, the owner of the Clippers. He gave money to the local NAACP. He said people are accusing me of racism, so I need to get wash this away and fight it off. So I'm gonna give you money, you give me an award, and that way they can't attack me because I've been co-signed by the NAACP. The only reason it didn't work was because of the internet. People were like, "What is this? This is crazy." But if all you had was TV and radio, what used to happen with TV and radio is people would just not talk about the obvious truth. That's how people got away with so much stuff, politicians and other people. Now the internet doesn't really let you get away with that stuff as quickly. With Tom Wine and Judge Olu Stevens, what what I kind of felt, was when Judge Olu Stevens spoke up against the use of all white juries, and Tom Wine was attacking him for that and really trying to destroy him. As Olu Stevens became the most popular black judge in Kentucky, what I really kind of saw was a scenario where you got a few Negroes who saw this as an opportunity. So they've got their black friends. They go up to them. They say, "Hey, how about we make a big donation to your church? We need you to do us a favor." So they put him in the King Day parade, and normally I think they would have got away with it. But people on the internet were like, "What is this? This is stupid. How do you pick a man who's known right now as one of the most notorious racists in the state? Not to say he truly is a racist in the core of his heart, but everything he's doing is really, really detrimental to the black community. You're defending all white juries, like which has sent tens of thousands of black
Because
people
he's
to prison."
racist, Daddy. He's racist.
Well, I'm not gonna say that.
Like, no,
I'm not
he's
gonna say you're
racist.
wrong. I just want to
Like,
make sure.
it doesn't mean you're fat. It just means that your clothes from last year don't fit. No, you're fat. He's racist. What? Did you just?
He's not. You're not fat. You're big boned it. But no. In all seriousness, I don't want to really get into trying to. Here you go. To the extent that racism means you support a racist system, then yes, you can make that argument very easily. But what I will also say is that whatever it is, whatever is in his heart, again, you get judged by what you do. And what he's doing right now, because remember, there's a possibility this could be personal. This could just be something where he's like, I don't like that guy. I like these other black people, but I don't like him. So my anger, my hatred of him is bigger than the fact that I end up looking like a racist by pushing forward with this racist agenda, this racist system. Do you see what I mean? Because I think that there could be some personal stuff there. I don't know. But either way, it was still screwed up because you had black people kind of trying to co-sign for this guy, and people just weren't standing for it. They were just like, no, this is crazy. So I think that in general, it's always been the case that when a black person will sign off on for white racism, a lot of times they actually do get away with it, and because black people will make every excuse in the book for why we get discriminated against. We will always look for the reason that the white man's right, because we just can't help but to believe that something must be wrong with us if something goes wrong. So you as a black person come and tell me that you've been mistreated, I'm gonna figure out like, okay, what did this nigga do? That's what I'm thinking. You know what I mean? Like, what did this nigga do on the job? Because niggas are lazy. Niggas they don't want to come to work. Niggas want to be fighting for no reason. Niggas can't ain't really that good at their jobs. Like that's how a lot of black people think. So that's their first solution is what must have you done wrong to make this good white man mistreat you? And I think that's what's interesting. That's the dynamic here. So I think that this woman being black and being the head of the academy, it's good for her, but it's not good for black people. In fact, again, it's detrimental to black people because some people are going to look at her as a black woman and say, "Oh, okay, so what they're doing must be okay. Maybe the black actors just aren't good enough. Maybe the white actors are just happen to be the best." That's what people say whenever they like if they hire 50 people and none of them are black. Literally, people will say things like, maybe the best 50 people just happen to be white. But if they were to hire 50 black people, they would assume, okay, something must be wrong here. They only picking black people. You see what I mean? Like if you had a company that just hired 50 people and every single one of them are black, you would say, oh yeah, they probably are preferring black people. But if all 50 are white, people think, oh, they must have just picked the best. And that's the problem that we have. So, yeah. So anyway, to end this conversation, I would just say that the academy is, we know what it is. I support Jada. I wish her the best. I'm gonna be looking to see how many of her friends back her up. I'm surprised that nobody said anything yet since it happened. That's kind of
And I'm
interesting.
gonna see how long this goes on. Don't just boycott this year, boycott next year too, because it's the same old bullshit.
Yeah, that's true too, and that's a good point. I mean, is Jada gonna boycott forever? Like, what's the plan here? I am a big fan of building our own. I mean, we can build our own, and the thing is that black people have to really understand that that's a mindset, that's a mentality. When you are committed to building, when you spend more time building than you spend begging and borrowing, that's a lifestyle. You got to be committed to that life. That's thug life. That's like economic thug life for real. Like where you're just like, I'm gonna go rough it in order to have something of my own, even if that means I struggle for a while. See, a lot of people they want to go to heaven, but don't nobody want to die. They want all the progress and the benefits that come from
Come
ownership.
on, Tupac.
For real, seriously. Everybody wants to go to heaven, but nobody wants to die because they want to be comfortable as they achieve their freedom. And achieving your freedom is not comfortable. It's hard. It's hard work. When I decided I wanted to be free of the white man's tyranny and I said I'm quitting my job and I'm gonna go start my own business, it was tough. I had stressful nights. I had to spend all my money. I had to study like I was in high school again, learning how to survive. And eventually it worked out. But a lot of my friends weren't willing to make that sacrifice because they're thinking about the here and now, the me and mine. What paycheck is that white man gonna give me next week? That's how a lot of people think. So if you're
Well, a
not,
lot of people are like that too, though. A lot of white people will say that they
mm,
know racism isn't right, and they know that the way black people are being treated isn't right, but they wouldn't walk in our shoes to help defend us.
well, that's true. That's true. They wouldn't. But my thing too is, I think that the people that are gonna really free black people are black people. Like if France is trying to get their freedom, I mean, sometimes some of the countries are gonna be like, okay, good luck. Good luck. We hope you win. Don't get me wrong. Allies and countries that have an interest in France might jump in, but really, for the most part, most of the time, when people are fighting for their freedom, they have to lead the fight. You got to be at the front of the battlefield. You got to be the first one to commit your resources to make it happen, because nobody's ever going to fight harder for you than you. So if you're not fighting for yourself, then don't be surprised if no one else fights for you. And that's it. You got any last thoughts?
No.
All right. Well, this was fun. All right. Well, everybody, thank you very much for hanging out with me and Patrice today. It was a lot of fun. These are our daddy-daughter discussions, and this is just our little effort to do the things that fathers and daughters really need to do and kind of talk stuff through out loud in public. And so it's a little bit weird for both of us. It always has been, it still is, but we enjoy it, and we hope that you enjoy it too. We hope you gain as much as we do. And so once again, thank you, Patrice, for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right. All right. Well, everybody, take care. And until we meet again, please stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. We are gone. Peace.